February. This.
You're live on YouTube.
Right. I tried Shanti. She's not answering her phone.
Who else is there in the UK at the moment?
Yeah, I know she's in UK. Yeah.
February.
I think something about her being in Sri Lanka.
No, Shanti is in. I'm not sure. I tried
so,
the
Maru,
mobile.
have you seen Subba and Vijita and Pats and all that?
Yeah, Pats and Vijita, they have light failure, current failure. Yeah.
That's all. Yeah,
I can see Ranjit covered with a blanket.
No,
It's
no.
cold.
Blanket is my shirt.
Okay, so Maruf.
Yeah.
Shall we wait for any more people or?
Just hold on.
I don't know.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Well, 5 more minutes.
Tell me.
Saro, how are you doing? How is your cold out there? Is it very cold out?
Actually, it's not too bad these days. It's like in the 40s. So
London was -3.
Comparatively from other years, it's not too bad. But
I can't take it.
I'm sure it will hit us
No,
sometime.
I got only 30 kilos and
it's a little cold out here in the nights. It comes to 28 to 30 in the nights. During the day, it goes up to 60 to 60.
Yeah, I can't take it. Last time also they
That's
are.
not bad. That's not bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I don't like it. Yeah, of course. But it's a little colder than usual for a couple of weeks. But then, end of September, it was so hot for a whole almost 2 weeks. It was unseen. I mean, it was going in the hundreds, 105, 110. So, as Sam says, there are changes happening. Don't know.
Yeah, but he has no brothers and sisters. I don't know. He's taking for his house, I know. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
1/3
Just
of
tell him.
Pakistan
If
got
he
flooded.
needs, I'll tell him. But otherwise,
Partly, I know, in summer, in June. Yeah, 1/3 of Pakistan got flooded.
Karunian, we had some good midterms though, huh?
Fantastic. Not good enough though. I wish we had won the house and then we would have been celebrating.
Yeah, okay.
But you know, Arizona, all Democratic, it was good. California, my own seat.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, the candidate who ran for the Democrats didn't do a very vigorous campaigning.
Yes.
But at least it was not as bad as we thought it would be. Thank God for that. Who's your congressperson?
Oh my gosh. Can't remember the guy's name right now. It's not coming to my head.
There's a guy called Raja Krishnamurthy in Illinois.
Yeah, no, this is Pritzker.
Oh, Pritzker, one of the Pritzker families.
That I'm not 100% sure, but he's a Pritzker, yeah. I don't know whether he's the University of Chicago Pritzker family or...
Governor, your governor is, right, Pritzker? Yeah. Very interesting teacher. Yeah.
You know, I hear that Sri Lanka, the temperatures have dropped. People are wearing jumpers and everything. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. No, I don't think so. But I know some cattle have died because it was too cold in the north central province.
Yeah, I can see you're not dressed. You don't look cold. Sam?
He's in a temperature controlled house.
I'm not cold at all.
Yeah. So the Indian crowd is gone now.
Who?
The Indian crowd is gone.
I think that's gone now.
Okay.
In fact, when I went to the park yesterday, I made sure that I wore a mask. You know, the park across.
Yeah.
Okay, Maruf.
Yeah.
Shall we start?
Sure.
So, first of all, you know, we at the last meeting, we decided to have one combined meeting for November and December. And but we were little, in fact, I forgot what day it was when Saro called me and texted me about 1 week ago. And then Maruf did not lose track of that. And he suddenly propped up and said, we're going to have a meeting. And he's in Sri Lanka. And so he's going to talk about lifestyle today. Now, let's have a little time chatting about next year, the program for next year. Let's and the goals in my mind is we got to get more people involved, and how we do that I don't know what the barriers are. And then I also would hope next year we can have one meeting where all of us get together, or as many as who are alive and well and have access to computers, have a meeting and have something in common. I have no ideas about exactly what should be done, but you know, just meet all our batchmates at least once next year. But we'll look into the specifics as we go along. But we will at this point we have to have a discussion, and hopefully on the WhatsApp chat group we'll discuss that. But with that, I think let's start the meeting. Anyone else has anything to share before Maru starts on his presentation?
Karunian, I'm just wondering whether having a meeting every month is too much for some people. What about having it every two months? Or the other thing is, I don't know whether some people must be finding Saturday difficult, because Saturday is the shopping day. People have to take their children and all sorts of things happening. Grandchildren, I mean, not children anymore. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, we can think about it.
I also think maybe that's, see, whatever it is, the attendance is dropping down from about 25-30 to now 8 to 9. And certainly monthly meetings may be a little too onerous. And if so, if there is some way of communicating with everyone and finding out, you know, if Narada, what you can do is I can talk to the guys in the US, Saro and I. If you can talk to the guys in England, and Vix, if you can talk to the guys in Australia, Vix or Benita, and then let's have a more, it's okay, even, I mean, just the main purpose is socialization. Education is part of keeping it interested, but I think it helps to keep connected. So I'm open to that, once in 2 months. Any other opinions on that?
This is an unusual timing, about 10th of December. And so I think, you know, Lalita said she will come. I spoke to her. And then she said, when I called her about 10 minutes before, she said, I'm outside, I'll back come and join. So Pats was definitely joining. But unfortunately, electricity has failed, that we can't do anything about. We can't connect the electricity. But my idea is to put a little salt and pepper, and that's why I'm re-talking about LifeCare. And I have some ideas which I want to express to you all. And most of you are experts in one thing or other, and most of you have reached a point that we can give consultancy to many ideas that we develop, that some sort of the care itself is going to change. The profile of healthcare will drop the health and will take life as a main event, okay, which provides health. The second part of it is now there is a group called Lifestyle Medicine. That's why I met Davinder, and he's actually, we met together, and I invited him to tell you the impact how it has had on the GPs in the UK. And then thereafter, it has spread to, it is also in USA.
It's 19
and
hours.
it is becoming very important that we discuss about life, and its lifestyle is one of those that actually contributes or makes it easier for us to handle health problems. I think, therefore, I have an idea which I will put it in a slide form, and then you can comment after that. Some of them may be repetitive. Sorry about, I had made a presentation before. This is part of the presentation I made at the 2020 150th anniversary of our medical school. All right. I hope.
So Maruf,
Yeah.
just to finish up the Narada will have some WhatsApp chats, and we'll do it. Our next meeting anyway is not till the end of January. But today's lifestyle, let's listen to Maruf and see. Go ahead, Maruf. Sorry, I interrupted you. I just want
No, it's okay.
to finish the
All right.
thought. Yeah.
And I'm sharing the screen.
Can you introduce Duminda to us?
Dominda, he is actually, you know, when I went for this lifestyle meeting, there were about, how many Duminda was there? Around at least about 400 people. They were meeting on the subject of lifestyle medicine. And it was an annual conference. It was very interesting. They talked about biome. They talked about assessing life and health using muscle mass and things like that. It was very interesting. How to prevent cancer, which is becoming a problem anyway in the world, and how people are living up to 90 years and more, and there will be more of us who will be living more than 90 even, some of us, hopefully. We are not too far from there. So I think the whole life is changing, but one thing that remains very, very important is activity. Now I'm going to put it to you in a way that how do we achieve a possibility of our life expectancy. Now I want to tell, let me start the presentation, then I'll carry on with if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yes. Go ahead.
Now, this is not the beginning of the slide, so I'm sorry about that. But I will. Just a minute. I will get this going because there was some problem. Right. I have to get to the first of the. Okay, now. Okay, is it clear there?
No.
Can you all see
Can't
it?
see you, Maru.
No.
Oh, sorry. No, I've taken off the screen, I think. My mistake. Is it clear now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Can see.
Okay, can you see? All right.
Yes.
So, but thank you. Okay, that's our college, and I presented this. Now, let's take interesting word, my life. which is in Arabic, Hayati is my life. And actually, the legacy of healthcare, the actual conference was based on a session called The Legacy of Healthcare, which I thought it is also should lead to the future of this healthcare, which is called life care. So the healthcare is going to move into life care. Why does it move into life care? And I will try to justify it, okay, as we go on. The life care model is based on the fact that consumerism is a driving industry in collaboration towards health and life care as a new strategic platform, because people are coming to identify and get those days when people fall sick, they come to the hospital, they approach the health system. Nowadays, the health system is approaching so that they will remain healthy and not fall sick. So based on the fact that we have lots of interesting information in life itself. Now, what is life? It's a form of activity. Where does it live? Where can you find life in a person? Is it in the brain and the heart and the... No. We are taking care of life of over 50 trillion cells, and a trillion is a million, which is about 12 zeros as you see it. And we are producing about 1.4 volts of electricity in each cell. That we are producing so much of electricity. This applies to normal motivated people, and their numbers are rapidly progressing. Now it has, as you know, it has already reached 8 billion, right? Now, if it is that each one of us is constructed of this number of cells, and if all those cells are harmoniously working, and as you know, it started from the stem cell of the embryo at the beginning, it went on to about 125 types of cells from the stem cell, and it formed into about 70 over organs, and in about 11 to 12 systems, and all these systems are working so harmoniously. And why? How is it that? Is there any control? It is all automatically done. And some of us, who believe in God, say this is all controlled and managed by God. But this is also important for us to understand how this continuity of activity into minute details it can be broken into. And I have been talking to people who sit next to me in the plane, my friends who come to me, and sometimes in the household, and they find it very, very interesting talking about the details. That means if we empower people with this, now we come to the fact we need to take care of this life. It is our responsibility. It is your 50 trillion cells or our 50 trillion cells each. Why should you have somebody coming and looking after that? Can they look after? I think it is not a possibility that somebody else can look after one's life if you have to look after the life of all the 8 billion people that we have. So based on that fact, we need to analyze what are the things that are in place at this moment. And as you know, there is well-being on one end, and there are planning and the service and the systems. But the most important part is in the left corner or whatever the corner that you are facing. It is on the left corner, which is the knowledge. Now, the knowledge that we have is based on the fact we studied for 5 years, we understood the basics. But then there is something called communication, which is very important. Even if communication is very important, we need to make them understand it. There's no point in I remember they used to say physiology is the cock and bull story. And there was another one about how a lecture is a transfer of information. transfer of information from the notes of the lecturer to the notes of the student without going through the brain of either. So these are things to ponder by, and when you do that, you realize that this is a very important thing, that we need to empower people with knowledge of what is happening in their bodies, how they can look after, and this starts off a new revolution in management of well-being, a wellness revolution. People will want to live healthy and happy and keep themselves fit and fine, remain young like Karunian and the rest of us. I think most of us are looking younger than what we are actually. And definitely, and it is possible that if we look after each of those cells, although there is a big number, there are certain singular principles, and I call it the layered care. There are several levels of care that we start with. Taking care of ourselves is the first thing. And then we form into a group called a family, each take care of themselves, and this is going to help the life itself its own quality. And we go on to the next level, and the next level, the tribe and the community and the region and the nation and the whole universe. If you look at even the animals, even the environment, even the plants, become part of our system where we live, and we should be able to easily coerce with the rest of it to get the best out of the environment, the sun, the moon, and the so-called chemical rain, how to protect yourself from that, and all that. So if you do that, the wellness revolution can be done by using various virtual connections of knowledge that we are implemented now. From the point of view of how it is implemented, it should start at home, or it should start with person, in the room of the person, and then go on to the home. Then we go on to getting them ambulatory and going to a institution or a center where they go and get certain so-called life care measures done, like periodic checking, or utilizing various periodic, life care equipment to give them good health and good life care. And the next thing that we will move into is bigger and bigger into institutions, then health systems in the country and health ministries. So it's another established organization that is producing life care, but in the name of health. Therefore, every one of those things are dependent on the fact people know about their life, people know about how to take care of the life, people know how to find out when things are not going right for the life, and these are important. Here is a very important role, my dear brothers and sisters, you can play. You all are people who have excellent knowledge, learned through those so many years. I won't mention the numbers anyway, but at least the 55 or 60 years, almost 60 years that we've been together, we know that we have certain expertise, certain amounts of experience, and all that can be put into use. If we register people, okay, come, I will take care of you. Now, how do you take care of you? You, like your family. I certainly, this is one of the practices I have in my own clinics, and I still practice medicine. And when a patient or a client comes to me, I tell them, you were a patient or a client unto the door. When you come inside, you're my family. You can consider me part of your family. And this has brought a lot of satisfaction, quite a number of those people. And I tell them in detail some of the things, the unnecessary details, and sometimes even the nurse is looking, you're not finishing in 5-10 minutes. And some of the clinics, they gave me 20 minutes for a complicated gynecology clinic, and I can't manage that. I tell them, look, I have to get information from them, identify the situation in her, and then the next one I have to think what other information I can, bless you, other information that we can get, put them all together, bring the background of my own, and if necessary, get more assistance and work on it and plan it for them, that they have, when they go out, at least some solution. I've been last few weeks, I've been working in Birmingham, where they are trying to use me to clear some of the backlogs. They said they were bringing people to clear the backlogs and they put certain systems and things like that. It has increased the number of backlogs. So much so, when I sit there in the clinic, patient walks in and says, oh, I have this, what's your problem? Oh, that problem is different now. I said, why? Oh, when I had the problem, I made an appointment with the NHS. The NHS booked me for you to see you. Now here I am after 1.5 years. That means they are unable to contain the so-called life care, and NHS or any other form of system cannot adequately, appropriately contain care, taking care of this life. There should be a total participation of the client themselves. And this can be achieved only by understanding the various ranges of health that I mentioned in this slide, which is self-help. And this is a different way, but I think that it starts with self-help, but then beyond, then you fit into a very, very convenient area, which is convenient health and beyond. Paddy is calling. Hi, Paddy. Join us, please. I am talking, yeah? Paddy? Yeah, we are. Hello? Paddy? Okay. Somebody can contact Paddy, please.
I'll call him.
Yeah. And there is a progress panel. But what happens is, usually, we're making a bottleneck. The bottleneck is an ethics and culture and sustainability and acceptance by the client. We put the policy, we put the governance, we put the all sorts of ecology, etc., everything, and we don't realize it will not be taken up until we go through this acceptance by the client. So, if they participate in it, we can do it very well. And I'm sure this is one of the things that we need to look into. And I call it, as I told you earlier on, it is a layered care, and which we need to understand. You belong to an area, when it becomes universal, then we go into the phases of various forms of management, and you can contribute a lot. So much so, I have given somebody from the Gambian the consulate or in Jeddah. They came to me and asked me, I heard you talking about this subject. Can you think you can implement it in Gambia? And I'm a friend of the president, and I want you to go and talk to him and explain. And then I said, certainly yes. And then I thought, I have a group called Slimo, and with various expertise in them, and can they connect them up? Benefit to humanity, benefit to them also, because I can. Hi, Paddy, where are you?
I'm at the YMCA.
Okay. you deserve that. I'm talking here on this. If you can join, it'll be good.
Yeah, I just spoke to him. He can't join.
He can, okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Then it is need for empowerment about life components, links. Now, I was talking to my friend who is with me, who is assisting me with this, and I talked to him about how a simple process of oxygen being transferred from the air to the lungs, to the red cell, to the muscle, and being brought out as carbon dioxide. It's a big journey, but it is a very interesting story that I told them. And they were amazed at the amount of information that could be given to them. And they were very interested. And I had done this in many situations, and I find very interesting. So I have started forming a system where each one can play a role and what role they can play. And through the facility of the internet, which incidentally brought all of us who are trying to meet every 4 years or 5 years with a difficult situation, now we are able to meet when we want. And understand the importance of this, you will understand, because I enjoy this for the purpose that there is a emergence of brotherliness and nice human qualities that we have at this moment, that we are enhancing it. Plus, here we are able to understand, provide high quality life for people. And the only thing I had in that lifestyle medicine meeting was, I said, why don't you drop the medicine? Bring lifestyle and that our life care as a thing of most importance. A holistic approach, or you can leave them in the jungle of Google or YouTube ocean, but rather we have to have some form of research in making life care empowerment. How it will be very interesting to them, talk to them, make them understand, use that knowledge in their own life. And second, motivation. This is very important, because unless they are participating, then we know that placebo and nocebo, is not difficult. It's a positive attitude and a passionate approach. A passionate approach is the one that is keeping us, even the smaller number, together. But we hope by each one of us using our own passion and bringing more and more people will be excellent and interesting. Now I'm going to go through this very fast, because we know most of these things. Yeah, focus on the wellness will help you to understand. This is probably the way that we may be able to put it to them, and these are heaven and earth. And people in Sri Lanka, when I came to Sri Lanka, they said, "Why did you come here? This is a hell here." So I said, "Cannot be." Because when God dropped Adam, this is what I believe in, into the world, he wouldn't send his creation, wonderful creation that he has made, without any support. So he took a piece of heaven and threw it around, and like a footprint, and which is Sri Lanka. So I said, this is part of heaven. It will never go down. Regardless of any of those things that we know that we trying to pull it down into under the sea, it will never go down. Okay, so applicable to all human beings, well and unwell. This is the important thing. Places like Kaiser Permanente, which has established, they started with the notion of providing online services for people who get ill, but then they moved on to wellness. Then they moved on to preventive health, and they moved on to health maintenance. Okay, but this one can be made relatively cheap and for almost for free, right? And if that is done using empowerment system, and it will benefit them altogether. Sorry about that, it went back. So we have defined wellness, okay, and basic requirements of healthy life, and integrate life care into one's life. If I am living, I must live in the best way my cells can benefit. And it is interesting, many people say, oh, how can I live beyond retirement age is 60, or how can I live? Oh, come on, you take the science, each of those cells multiply every 7 to 10 years. And we have this is commanded by the telomere. Every time a multiplication occurs after 7 years, 1 telomere is lost. And we are born with 22 telomeres. Now, the smaller organisms are actually, especially the ones that is 100 trillion cells that are living inside us, which is called the microbiome, they are able to even increase the number of telomeres. If you look at the numbers, now when you juggle the numbers around, first minimum 7 years and maximum 10 years, the second 22 we were born with, we can go up to 30. These are proven by research into longevity, anti-aging, and things like that, and keep yourself young. Now that, if you multiply, you have initially to start with, you have a potential of 154 years, 7 times 22 telomeres, and the other end of it, we look after less stressed life, and you increase your number of telomeres, and you have 300 years at the end. I am being a Muslim, I read a surah called Suratul Kahf. It talks about some boys who lived in a particular era of tyranny, and they said, oh, let's go and hide in this cave, and they hid in the cave, and they prayed to God, and God said, okay, fine, go to sleep. And they woke up and said, oh, how long did you sleep? And maybe 1 day or 2 days. This is all in the Quran. And when they went, okay, let's go and have some food because I'm very hungry. And they took the coin, went to the shop, and that fellow said, sir, this coin expired 300 years ago. It was at that time of so-and-so, so-and-so, it was. So they 300, this is recorded in at least one of the scriptures. So there is a positivity that we can develop based on this, that we may not reach 300, but looking at the world today, the Queen died at 96. She was quite well. And what happens to this Queen? What happens to President of the United States? What happens to the Prime Minister of UK is they are given life care. And I know Bill Clinton's kitchen was watched over by a famous physician who kept all the things in the proper order. See, what Clinton should be knowing, he took it on himself and he made it.
You are lost.
We can't hear you. Maruf?
I hope there's been no power cut where Maruf is.
He said he's in a hotel or someplace where there is no power cut.
No, he must be wherever he's staying. He's about a couple of miles from where I live. But I think there has been power cuts because I live in fairly central Colombo. So I get we don't have power cuts.
Don't they have generators though?
The areas they have been cutting power for an hour.
They need gas for the generator. You know what? I'm pretty sure he's subject to power cuts. So let's assume that. Salima, you're on the line. Do you know where Maruf is? What's happening?
He says he has no power cuts because he's living opposite.
Salima is muted.
Who's that? Ranjit? No.
Yeah.
Salima
he lives opposite the army hospital. So he says there's no power.
No. Yeah, tell us something. I mean, there's a young man from Singapore on the Lifestyle Society. Tell us something about your society.
Thank you, sir. Maybe I'll just take like 2-3 minutes just to give
go ahead.
Quick introduction.
We are all doctors from the same vintage. We all need to be younger like you. But go ahead. Yeah, just tell us about your Lifestyle Society, what it is and what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
All right, thank you. I'll just quickly share my screen as well so that I can just show some of the website because I didn't prepare anything. It was just last minute thing. And Dr. Maruf just wanted me to. join and perhaps share a comment or two. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So yeah, the Sri Lankan Society of Lifestyle Medicine, we are pretty much a young bunch of people who are pretty much in halfway through our training, and we got together in 2019. Started off as a small interest group. So pretty much the science and the discipline itself is coming from the US since I think 2004, where the American College of Lifestyle Medicine was initially formed. And so we started our journey in 2019, pretty much based on the same sciences. It's pretty much under the umbrella of modern medicine, allopathic medicine. What we're trying to do is to use the evidence-based methods, evidence-based interventions to treat the common non-communicable diseases, the same old story, starting from diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, stroke, heart disease, etc. But pretty much most of the evidence-based being for the purpose of research, education, and the practice purposes, it's been formed into 6 pillars. So we call, like, when it comes to diet, it's pretty much we try to advocate a plant-based whole food diet. And for physical activity, and then it's a separate pillar on its own. Then we have the limit or avoid harmful substance use. The 4th one is about sleep and the quality of sleep. And the last 2 is the social connection / positive psychology and stress management. So these are the things that we're trying to encourage in the practices. But the main challenge right now, especially in a country like Sri Lanka, and given the Sri Lankan healthcare model as well as the current crisis, is how to use these methods. Basically evidence-based intervention in a way that is sustainable in an economy. Like, basically, in other words, economically viable solutions. So this is mostly applicable for primary care, not limited to primary care, but mostly applicable to primary care. But how to use it in primary care is a challenge. So that's what we are trying to figure out. There are some research. At the same time, there are some training programs for doctors and healthcare professionals, including allied health science people. So this is just the website. You can always go to. I'll post it in the chat. Then I'll quickly touch on something else in a moment. Yeah, and so to promote our research, pretty much to encourage people to do research, particularly in lifestyle medicine and chronic disease management. So we started this research alliance together with Sabargama University Sri Lanka Medical College, the new medical school, a public medical school. So we just launched some research grant as well. So this is a crowd-funded program. Please feel free to go to the website and check it out as well. And most importantly, before Dr. Maru comes back online, I think I'll quickly share our latest conference details. So we have our first academic conference in October, 5th to 7th. In Sri Lanka, some of the logistics are still being finalized. So I'm not 100% sure in which hotel it's going to be, but anyway, it's going to be a hybrid event. So we'll keep you posted through Dr. Maru, and please feel free to join the conference, as well as if you can help us in any ways or in any ideas, advice, you're more than welcome to have you on board.
Thank you very much. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So lifestyle medicine is essentially, you said, plant-based diet, stress-free life, avoiding drugs, and what was the 4th thing? There was something else.
Adequate sleep.
Adequate sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. So
sleep
my question is, how do you
connection
and social connections? Yeah. So these are all stuff that is there. That's very common. But in terms of how do you get this, obviously is happening in people who are asymptomatic and pre-illness, right? So how do you get them? I mean, is it, the patients, you are promoting wellness before they are sick. So do patients have the culture of coming to physicians when they are well, when they are not asymptomatic?
So it's a good question. There's a little bit of a overlap between the two populations, basically our clients and patients. So most of the time, the healthy populations are approached by the community physicians and the public health people through health promotion and other interventions. So that is not really our area. So what we are trying to do is to change our practice. So it's pretty much about patients. So for instance, there's a pretty solid evidence base. So right now we have a research which is actually funded by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Research Grants, where we are trying to use lifestyle interventions and DASH diet grade 1 hypertension as the first line treatment. So it's a randomized controlled trial where we are treating 2 different groups using, one is with lifestyle intervention, the other one is the usual care. And in the lifestyle intervention group, we are using all 6 pillars, and particularly the diet intervention with DASH diet. And the American College of Cardiology, and there's a consensus paper that came out in 2018 and 19, where they are now very confident, based on the evidence, that you don't have to start on pharmaceutical or pharmacological management initially for grade 1 hypertension, and you can safely start on lifestyle interventions alone. So that's the kind of area we are trying to deal with. And patients obviously don't come up with their problem because they sometimes not able to understand what are the problems in their lifestyle. So that's where the practice is important, to triage people, to collect the data. And it's a whole process where the doctor is not really alone in the clinic. There will be some assistants, nurse clinicians, etc. So that's where the economic model is kind of challenging. Sri Lanka. It has worked very US. In UK also they are working out in some models. But when it comes to more poorer settings, developing settings, it's pretty much a big challenge. Yeah. I'm not sure whether I answered your question, sir.
No, that's fine. No, it's you know, I'm just working, and I've written an article on premature heart disease in South Asians, and then this for public consumption. I just wrote it, and one of the things is you have such a lot of insulin resistance, diabetes that is there in the community in South Asia, in Sri Lanka. You know, when I go to Sri Lanka, everyone in the stomach bandi has insulin resistance, and so it's very important. But the question is, as a public health, because you are in a public health arena, the public health system is geared to communicable diseases, vaccination, clean water, clean environment, all that deals with communicable diseases. But now we are going into the realm of non-communicable diseases, like diabetes, hypertension, premature heart disease, and all that. And so my question is, how do you get these people who are functioning and who are active and who are working, how do you mobilize them into a program which is lifestyle change? For instance, DASH diet is well known to reduce hypertension, but how do you get them to eat a plant-based diet? You know, when there's market competition from the meat producers, and then advertisements all over coming on. So I'm just curious in Sri Lanka what the model is. And number 2 is, will the Sri Lankan health system promote such a model, because they are very much sickness response system that we have, the national health system. I think that is so even in England. I think there isn't much money spent on identifying, promoting public health. So anyway, that's a question, just a comment.
I just want to tell you about one point about health coaching. Health coaching has become an important part. I think I attended some sessions there. It's very interesting how people not only give knowledge, but also get them to do it and practice and make sure that well.
Against reigning champions from later evening. Yeah, actually, that's an excellent comment, as well as what Dr. Maruf said is also true. I think in the US, in Boston, one of a Sri Lankan, I met him once and have had a couple of phone calls. Dr. Rushika Fernandopulle, probably you. He had his healthcare company, Ira Health, where they were using health coaches pretty much to do what we are trying to do here. Health behavior change, slowly, step by step, with one-on-one care, building rapport and progressing the story slowly with the patients day by day. So it to answer to comment on your comment, it's an excellent comment, but at the same time we don't have an answer to the question. So that's why we can probably come up with some answers perhaps to finalize, finish this research project that we are doing right now. As you said, yeah, it's a pretty much uphill battle because there are a lot of market forces, and especially in a time like this, asking people to commit to a DASH diet or any other healthier form of a diet is definitely a challenge. So how we are exactly going to do it is uncertain, but we have given a pretty solid proposal, including some incentives and goodie bags, etc., to encourage people for health behavior change with economic model inside it. So hopefully you can find some answers by next year. That's thing I can really share.
No, that's wonderful. But you're going in the right direction. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes,
I had a question. How much interest do you think that the physicians, I'm sorry to be so skeptical, but physicians it's their profession. Many of the physicians are making, a lot of money because patients are truly sick and so on. And a healthy population, ideally, of course, that's what we should be aiming at, and prevention and so on and so forth. But have you, in general, what do you think the physicians' cooperation might be in this case? Unless you can make it so that their involvement is very continuous and also somewhat profitable to them as well.
You ask me or?
It is a problem,
I was asking I was asking the young doctor from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
I think he's blocked out.
Yeah, but anyone who wishes to
yeah. See, Saro, your question is, he maybe he can answer. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I don't think he can hear us. One thing I want to say, Karunian, is everyone who is treating people, orthopedic surgeons want their patients to have osteoarthritis because they can do knee and hip replacements. Physicians want their patients to be ill. That's how they make their money. So I can't see them being interested, but the public health people are the ones who should be taking the initiative so that the people change their lifestyle and live a healthy life. Because other point I want to make is the way things are, there is going to be 30, 40 years from now, there will not be enough young people to look after the old people. So the people who are growing up should try and stay healthy. At least some of them will stay healthy enough to look after people of their age group, because that's going to be a problem. Now, for instance, in Japan, a woman should produce 2.1 children to maintain the same population. Whereas in Japan, it's supposed to be something like 1.4. All the Western countries, the populations are decreasing. So that will be a huge problem it won't affect us, but our children and grandchildren are going to be affected in the future because there won't be enough young people to look after the old people.
Samandika, can you hear us?
Hi, Dr. Saro. Yeah, sorry, I think I got cut off.
Okay.
Dr. Saro,
something happening because we get cut off.
Yeah, so Samandika, go ahead. Dr. Saro's question.
Yeah, I think the question was, I think part of it, what's the interest of patients when there's a possible conflict of interest, right?
Doctors.
They're benefiting.
We make a living on sickness. So we want people to be sick. That's the bottom line.
So we don't have data from Sri Lanka, and based on our understanding, but the thing is, what we see in the Sri Lankan Society of Lifestyle Medicine is a very special population. because those people who come to us, who join us, are the people who see that there's a problem. So based on our understanding, from our perspective, yeah, a lot of doctors understand that there is a problem, and they don't want to let the industry decide their practices, or else to have an economical model where they don't charge for their time and instead get charged through their prescription. So that's not the model that we want to see. But that's a minority, I would say. And whenever we have a chat with more industry-based field, like maybe a cardiologist or whoever carries out interventions, etc., then they will be more inclined to see the other way around. They will not be really inclined to change their practice. So yeah, it's a mixture of things. But what we see in our membership is, of course, more biased towards the better side, the more progressive side. Yeah.
Very good. No, I think, Saro, if I may make a comment, there is in the human community, human society, all kinds of motives that coexist at the same time. So there is definitely a tendency in all doctors to prevent diseases and motivate disease and not necessarily live on sickness, because we need more people. I used to joke and say, I think we need someone spreading viruses around here because we don't have enough patients, especially in the private sector model. And certainly the medical model that even in Maru's presentation has moved from a service model that we were brought in. When I was growing up, medicine was considered a service. And even when we went to medical school, medicine was considered a service. But now the financial model has taken over, even in Sri Lanka, I think, in England too, where there is, medicine is now a commodity. In the US, the practice pattern is modeled after a businessman. I mean, if you get into private practice, you are a businessman, simple as that. So, because medicine is totally taken over by corporations and individuals and business model. So there is a conflict there, I agree. But at the same time, hopefully there are people who will think otherwise. Just if I may make a personal comment, the biggest problem in Sri Lanka and in South Asia, for South Asians are 30% of the world's population. And they are the 60% of the cardiovascular deaths in the whole world. A South Asian in the US is 4 times more likely to get a heart attack as compared to a Caucasian. So we have a very special problem. And if you are in Sri Lanka and walk around, even in medical school, they all have insulin resistance, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and all the complications that happen. I think there's going to be it has to be a public health intervention on diet. And you talked about plant-based diet. And that introduction of that is a public health necessity. It's a little more difficult than dealing with communicable diseases. And I think it has to be started early, and it's got to be a family culture that has to come in. And processed foods and using trans fat, all that has to be decreased, and that's particularly required in Sri Lanka. And whereas now you have commercial companies marketing food, preserving food and putting a lot of salt and selling it, and that lifestyle is coming. And so it's a problem. I think one of the things that may happen with the food problem is there will be more home gardens and locally grown food consumed. That will help in some of these things that you're talking about.
And Dr. Karuni, can I ask you one question? A very quick one. Do you have any recollection of data comparing the African American, any data comparing the African American and the South Asian Americans or Indian Americans?
Sure.
How about the relative risk?
In the cardiovascular disease, African Americans rates are much lower. If you go to the web, there's a study called the Masala study, MASALA. Okay, then Masala stands for the mediators of atherosclerotic diseases in South Asians living in America. Okay, and it's a study focused on longevity study. I don't know whether you heard of the Framingham study. Where so it's a Framingham style model on South Asians in America. So there you'll get a lot of data on the American thing, but there is also some data comparing information to the African Americans, and African Americans have the same low rate of heart diseases compared to South Asians. Even the Chinese. The Chinese, interestingly, have more. They have more stroke.
Welcome,
for some reason. They have more stroke, whereas the South Asians have heart disease. I mean, we can see it in our own batchmates. How many of our batchmates have died of heart disease prematurely?
Yeah, just to answer what Sam said earlier. Sam said that in Sri Lanka, changes may not happen because the doctors are businessmen. But Sam, what I think is these people who are making lots of money are a very small percentage of people. They are the Colombo consultants and the consultants in various places. But the rest of I think Sri Lanka has, I don't know how many, I had to ask that young guy how many doctors there are. I think the people who are
from what I heard last time, it was 40,000 registered professionals.
40,000.
That's what I remember.
Of the 40,000, I think the Mudalalis must be about 1,000 or 2,000. So there are about 38,000 of other doctors who can be mobilized for.
The problem, I think, is Narada, is the kind of salaries that the doctors receive from the government service is inadequate to have a decent standard of living. So most people, whenever the opportunity is there, they would go into private practice without a doubt. So even outside Colombo, there are people doing private practice everywhere. But my point is really they will not be interested in getting involved with lifestyle medicine because, as I said, one of the orthopedic guys told me, I would like more people to have osteoarthritis so that I can operate on them. You see, that kind of thing. But the public health people are the ones who should really get involved in, getting people to change their lifestyle so that they eat a plant-based diet and exercise regularly, keep their weight under control, get adequate sleep, and try and cut down on stress. Those are the things that are necessary for longevity. So,
Dr. Sam,
go ahead.
Sorry, after you. Didn't want to cut you off. So, if I'm repeating myself, or if I'm repeating what you already know, just feel free to stop me. So there are a few pillars right now. So most of the work, rather, is done by the public health sector in Sri Lanka, which is single payer system, public health system, and through Health Promotion Bureau rather, which used to be Health Education Bureau, I suppose, and the NCD unit. So Health Promotion Bureau, they are addressing pretty much the larger community where the healthy people live through various different funded projects through the World Bank and WHO. So one of the interesting projects I remember is Happy Village project, and where they were trying to get people to basically empower them to stay healthy. And then on the other hand, the NCD unit is trying to use the curative sector to address the NCD burden, where they have healthy lifestyle centers. They were started, I think, when Dr. Thalata was the head of the department in NCD unit. That was in 2014 or 15 with the JICA NPP project, the Non-Communicable Disease Prevention Project. And that was a huge success initially, and then later on, it didn't work out well. I heard that after Dr. Vindya Kumarapalli took over, now it's functioning again. So those are the main two pillars out of many other various different interventions. Those are the main two areas where they're addressing the healthy community and the already vulnerable communities. And what we are trying to do is to get both the private and the public sector doctors to use the methods that we can actually use to help people. Just writing a prescription with the 2-minute consultation and sending them home to spend some time either using group interventions, like group visits, or any other economically viable model to slowly understand their problems, triage them, and see how to actually make a change in their health behaviors. So, but that takes time, and people are not really willing to pay money for the doctor's time, and instead the industry has been, constructed in completely opposite direction. So that's the challenge. That's where the challenge is.
Very, very good, Samandrika. Very, very informative. But Samandrika, one question: the Sri Lankan Lifestyle Society of Lifestyle Medicine, is it a physician organization or a government-sponsored organization?
No, it's a voluntary organization, non-profit organization. So right now,
part of the postgraduate medical
education is actually
education?
waiting for the president. No, it's actually now we are working with the SLMA, because we have an advisory board, and Dr. Vinya Ariratna is also one of our advisory board members, and he's helping us to collaborate with SLMA. And our intention is, of course, to get it incorporated into medical education and the normal mainstream medical societies. But we just got started, so it's still a long way.
So you are just a few doctors who got together and decided to do it, is it?
Yeah. So we initially started in 2019, and now we have close to 50 people, and and it's growing. So we have a training program is actually coming from the US. It's a diploma program where we train people. In the US, it's a board. There's a board, American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. So the exam is done by them, and it's administered through Prometric Exam Center. So about 6 doctors have taken the exam over the last 2.5 years. And in October next year, there's the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. They're coming to Sri Lanka and having a bigger exam at a more discounted price, and trying to train more and more people and to spread the word and spread the practice, and at the same time to generate evidence simultaneously.
So, but is it say, for instance, if you are trained through the postgraduate medicine to be ophthalmologist, then you are a certified specialist. So are they going to give you their designation? Are you going to be part of the system?
Yeah, that's the target. But then we haven't approached anyone yet. It felt like it's kind of too early at the moment, but happy to get started with the conversation. But I think feel like it's still too early. Don't know. What do you think?
No, it's very encouraging that people like you are doing this. How did you get involved?
Oh, when I first came to Singapore, after I graduated from Columbia University, and then after graduation, I decided to do my housemanship elsewhere and came to Singapore. And the first day itself, I got in touch with Dr. David Katz. I'm sure the American doctor, David Katz. I'm not sure whether you heard it. So he has written quite a number of books, alongside Dr. Dean Ornish, David Katz, Colin Campbell. So I presented at their conference in 2015, and ever since I've been in touch with the group and trying to form the kind of spread the word and promote it. So at the same time, I'm also working with the Asian Lifestyle Medicine Council, where I'm serving as the chair right now. So we are basically a group of 10 countries, and some of the countries are doing very well. For instance, Philippines, India is growing very well and spreading the message faster. Pakistan and Malaysia and South Korea. Yeah, they are pretty big organizations. They're doing quite a lot of work in the community, in the medical community.
Samandrika, I have a question for you. Now, are you employed by the health department, or are you a private?
In Singapore?
What do you do?
He lives in Singapore.
In the private sector now. Yeah,
Sorry?
I'm based in Singapore.
You're based in Singapore.
Yeah.
And you're in the private sector?
Yeah, in Singapore, I have full registration. So at the moment, I am actually in private sector. Yeah.
Could I ask a question, Samandrika? Now, lifestyle change and lifestyle improvement, to improve the lifestyle, why don't they start in the schools?
Yeah.
See, it's prevention. If you start with the young, teaching them how to care for their life. Most of the problem is there. The paradox is, we started with 1 medical college. Take Sri Lanka, we must be having 14 medical colleges. We are increasing, producing doctors to look after the sick. But if you have the concept of life care, you start with the schools from young age, teach them.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that a better way of, What the old ones are going, but the younger ones will be much more educated on that. So one of the things you have, attack will be to get them young, to know the basic foundation or lay the foundation at that time, that age.
Very good point.
Yeah, actually, we did a study, we did a review in 2015, me and Dr. Albi from Australia. So there was a good paper published in 2009, Barraclough. They did a review, complete review of the school health programs in Sri Lanka. There's something called comprehensive school health program, started during the British time in early 1990s, I think 1908 or somewhere there. And it has evolved into a bunch of different exercises, giving vitamin A doses, height and weight measurements, school meals, etc., etc. It's quite an expansive program, but actual outcomes are, of course, questionable because there are no real, there are some evaluations of the program, but most of the time they're depending on, the blanket methods to understand how the program is doing. So this has been, I think, tried and been successful to a certain degree, but of course, there's a lot of room to improve. Yeah.
Well, can I make a comment? Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, Mohan, go ahead, Mohan.
Sorry, I joined the meeting about 5 minutes before you started, but for some reason I couldn't get the connection properly and so on. But just to make a few comments about one thing, the communication was rather difficult because there are a lot of echoing today. I don't know whether it is something special for my computer or it is in general.
No, we are in Sri Lanka. We are broadcasting from Sri Lanka today.
Right.
But I think it's more on your computer. But anyway.
What I wanted to say was with regard to some of the comments made by Sam and Nard and so on, that there is a problem with people seeing private doctors. In the recent past, I have got personal knowledge of friends and family who have gone to see private consultants, and I think it doesn't sound good at all. There's a tendency for them to be admitted to hospital for dubious reasons, and then there's a tendency for them to be given administered intravenous drip as well. And the bill generally goes fairly high with these manipulations. So I don't know, there may be good ones, but there are quite a few of these people who come into the other lot as well. So I think the medicine that was practiced when we were medical students and junior doctors, I think is quite different to what is happening in the hospitals and especially the private hospitals these days. I don't know what your views are, but that is what my personal belief is. That's about all I wanted to say, really.
See, Mohan, if I may comment, it is precisely because of what you are saying that you need more people like Samantika to promote the other aspect of it, to counter the commercialization and profiting from sickness, to promoting health. And it will be a back and forth conflict. Yeah. But I think
that is
you are
that
right.
You have to eradicate
even
poverty.
In the US money drives medicine.
You eradicate poverty. Otherwise, you are not going to get rid of it.
Yeah. But go ahead. Saro, you want to say something?
Yeah. No. Well, I was basically thinking that this whole thing is almost like a culture-ish thing. I've noticed that recently, I haven't been to Sri Lanka for the past nearly maybe 2.5 to 3 years, but before that, if ever I went to, was invited to a dinner, anything at all like that, it seemed like people thought that the more animal products that were on the table seemed to indicate their level in society or something like that. you had chicken, prawn, fish, shrimp, you name it. Every single probably Noah's Ark creature that was there on the table. So that has moved into another thing, talking about plant-based diets. People were getting away from it, at least say in Colombo and in these places. I don't know exactly what it is like in the other parts of the country. Probably they don't have as much access to these things. And of course, we are all now into the cellophane wrapped packages because it's so much more convenient, I suppose. So it's a huge culture thing, and I don't know how you're going to get away from it. But I think in America, for sure, I think Karuni and those of us who live here might agree that we are seeing a shift now. When we first went to a restaurant or something, you couldn't get a decent vegetarian meal. It was boiled carrots or something like that. But there is definitely a shift now, and more people in this country are getting into a plant-based diet and recognizing the benefits of that, not only from a point of view of health, but climate conditions for so many other things, environment and everything else. So
one other thing I forgot to mention, BBC News today and yesterday, they were talking about the shortage of antibiotics for strep A, as a result of which some 16 people have died, but maybe not generally as a result of that, but there is a problem with shortage of medicine. And the pharmacies are charging exorbitant amount of money for things like amoxicillin. And they mentioned about 10 pounds a packet of maybe 15 or 21 capsules, which is very unreasonable. But how one can do something about controlling this sort of practice, I don't know.
It is a complex problem, Mohan. Its money has got into medicine, and it has brought a lot of good stuff, without question, innovation and new findings and so on. But it's also very corruptive at a very, very high level. For instance, one of the most illogical things that one saw in terms of pharmaceutical is that in 2004, when the Medicare passed a regulation by which they were given medication, they passed a law saying that you cannot negotiate the price of medicines. And in front of my eyes, as I was practicing, the prices of medicine skyrocketed. Things that were $2 and $5 became $50. Okay, and insulin now. So anyway, that's one aspect of it. But now there's a forces against it. And now recently, Biden passed a law by which you could negotiate, and also they kept the price of insulin. Now, insulin price is, I'm an endocrinologist, I've been struggling with that. It's crazy, the price of insulin. It costs less than $1 to produce a vial of insulin, and it's sold up to $700 in the commercial market. All kinds of market forces have been playing too. That's correct. The other same as Haro says, there are the young people like Samandika who wants to practice some good form of medicine. And there are other forces that are coming into play, and we got to encourage that and go on. So we have to be optimistic on that part. But Savandika, one request. I'd like to get your email and your telephone number, partly because I'm going to come to Singapore in March, and just out of curiosity. But the second thing is, I just for my old school, school, St. John's and Chindukuli Old Students Association has a journal. It's in the US journal, and it's a pretty well-written journal. There are some English professors and various guys who are old students who have kept it up with interesting subjects. So they asked me to write a little note on something I'm very passionate about, preventing heart disease and diabetes in the young. So I just wrote an article, and if it deals with a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. If you send me your email, I'll send it to you. And I would ask all of you to preach preventive cardiovascular disease, preventive cardiology, because it's such a problem. Young people falling dead suddenly at 50 years of age with heart disease, and it's a South Asian problem. So, I would, I'd like to, if you can share it, it'll be nice. But I'm very encouraged, and I think you should promote your lifestyle society in Sri Lanka as much as possible.
Yes, thank you very much. And I have sent my
I'm
email
sorry.
to everyone as well. I will
Yeah.
drop a direct message as well. And thank you very
Can
much.
you put-
And happy
can
to
you put it in the
collaborate
WhatsApp
on the
group,
paper as
huh?
well, if any possible. Yes, the
Samandika,
WhatsApp
can I
message.
just say, Shanti here. I'm sorry
Yes,
I
Dr.
was
Shanti.
Samandika, thank you very much. I'm very sorry. I didn't get everything to come in time for your meeting until Narada just called me and said that the meeting was in progress. So I'm very sorry I didn't hear your talk. But I think hearing all your comments, it looks like a very good talk that had gone down well with our group. And I'm just interested to know that, Samantika, that you call yours as the Sri Lankan Society of Lifestyle Medicine. And I just wondered, with that title, how much influence you have on the public health medicine in Sri Lanka, because I would imagine your thing would easily fit into the public health sector medicine in Sri Lanka. That's one thing. And also taking Benita's point of view, sometimes whether it is the right time now with what is going on in Sri Lanka, whether how to promote this, and taking into account what Benita said, things have to start very early, and whether this could be incorporated into the school health side and put it into the school children, this lifestyle medicine, and start early. Because here in our country, I come from England, we do this kind of thing in schools, promoting, we give leaflets so that they can take home and read it with their parents and those things. But at the moment, there's always a right place and a right time for these things. But I'm happy that you have thought about it and this has taken on, and that you call yourself the Sri Lankan Society. But you're based in Singapore, and hopefully you would correlate with the public health side in Sri Lanka and promote this starting from schools and taking it forward. That's just some of the thoughts that came to mind, having worked.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Shanti. I think there are two main questions, right? I'll quickly answer without taking too much of your time. And for the public sector, we don't have any say or any power over there. But of course, what you're trying to do is to influence policies. So a few things we have done so far successfully. One is we have managed to incorporate lifestyle medicine teaching in University of Sabaragamuwa Medical College. Disclaimer, let me qualify my statement. So at the moment, the proposal is waiting for board approval, but it's most likely going to happen starting from mid-March next year. So similarly, and at the same time, some of the public health people in Sri Lanka are in the advisory board, so helping us out to get the message across, so mainly to tweak the policies in a way that it helps our practice. And it's a long way to go. So all of you are welcome to, please, I have dropped my email, WhatsApp number. So please write, and if there's any way that we can help, that you can be of some help or be part of some of the activities we're doing, and we're more than happy to welcome you open arms. And the second question, I think, is about, sorry, slipped my mind.
I think has started school. How do we start a school at the right time?
Oh yeah, it's about the medical education or in the school.
Taking it into schools, because the schools have teachers as well, and I think the teachers have also a role to play in all these skills. And school health medicine is also a part of the general medical field in Sri Lanka.
We haven't, to be honest, we haven't considered that. We haven't even added it in our 5-year plan. So at the moment, the concern is pretty much the focus is on the medical students, the research staff, or the academic staff, and the doctors who are in practice. So yeah, I think it's something that probably something we can try and encourage or perhaps get involved in the future.
Samantika, I want to ask you, do you all have an office in Colombo or somewhere in Sri Lanka?
No, at the moment we don't have. We are registered in somewhere around with our personal addresses actually. Yeah. So we don't have an office, but we are opening a research office in Wwmm University, medical faculty. That will be probably early next year. Yeah.
Right.
And Samantika, if you can persuade the government to impose a 400% additional tax on processed food and get the revenue and give it to people to start their home garden and insist that everyone with a little plot of land grow some vegetables, your lifestyle medicine will flourish.
Yeah, I mean, Sri Lanka,
economic model is what we have to look at it.
Yeah, Sri Lanka, the interesting thing is when it comes to any matter, like whether it's gender-based violence, women's rights, or food policy, food act, everything has been written down. So someone has written a really good document somewhere in the past. It's just that it doesn't get work. It doesn't get to the point that where it actually works and where it implements and enforced. So that's the part we are lacking significant. So even the Food Act is there, and the dietary guidelines, which was introduced just about 2 years ago, Sri Lankan dietary guidelines. But whether it gets to the public, whether it actually gets into some kind of action, like in the US, for instance, dietary guidelines. I mean, just listen to Dr. Michael Greger. How much they're trying to use the evidence, practices, and influence the industry. It doesn't happen in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. The 400% tax will be the politicos pocket. So at the end of it, it's lost money, forget about it. In Sri Lanka, it's legitimized bribery and corruption.
I know. The reason why, they have good plans, but it doesn't get done because there's a thing called corruption. The whole country is a lie.
That 400% will be you are fattening the politicos purses. The poor people won't get anything of it.
May I ask another question, please? Does anyone know whether, like in the States, for example, the schools supply actually a meal to the children?
It is earlier they have had it, but with this last crisis, lot of people, the schools were not giving the buns or the food, the whatever lunch or whatever that's being produced. There were some voluntary organizations. They said they were giving in some places, but ad hoc.
Yeah, because I was thinking children have very little. I mean, they are not the ones who buy the food or prepare the food or do anything like that. So while you can impress upon them the importance of having a good lifestyle, it's basically the parents who will be, supplying their food and so on, unless the schools are supplying a really good nutritional plant-based meal to the children.
No money.
In which case it would help.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Saru,
Lanka,
the answer to your question, Saru, there is no compulsory free school meals in Sri Lanka, as far as I know. But as Benita says, we as some voluntary organization, to certain schools, we provide meals on certain days, like on birthdays or something, once a week we provide meals. But there is no governmental free school meals being provided there, unfortunately.
Actually, in many developing countries, school meals are perhaps the most nutritional meals given to children. I know that in Tamil Nadu, in South India, where it is a big part of the meal and the nutritional project of the children. But anyway, there is a lot of things to be concerned about, and it's good that you are doing such a work. and promoting good health. Can we, Maruf, thank you very much, Maruf. And thank you for bringing Samandika into this mix. And,
actually, I met him in the meeting, and then I think we need to get together and get this thing going very well indeed.
Yeah.
I think we all can really join this system.
Sure. So can we just, is there any more discussion, any questions on this particular subject?
I think I'll probably leave. I'll leave you guys to have your discussion. And thank you very much for having me. And thank you, Dr. Maruf, for having me. And I'm sorry if I steal the thunder from you. I mean, I didn't want to spend so much time talking about it.
You did very well. It was good to have a young guy in our midst.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Young in spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And please be in touch via email. Hopefully we can meet each other
Yeah.
to continue to do something better. Thank you.
Thank you, Samu.
Thank you.
So our next meeting is in January. And, I think the first year we had high quality, presentations with Bobby's son and Saro's son and all the children, lost children. I think whether they have got new information, I don't know. But we'll have to have a nice program and keep it going. I think I find this useful to chat. Any ideas are welcome. Any ideas for the Shanti? You were going to do something, right? You're going to read about.
Don't put me in the hot spot. You're putting me on the hot spot now.
Yeah, but when are you going to do it?
I can't remember.
January.
It was a
End of
book.
January.
No,
I'm going to
say that.
Do you want to have it once a month, or once
No,
in 2 months?
I think let's see how many of you are for once a month, how many of you for once in 2 months.
I think
Narada is for once in 2 months, right?
I think once in 2 months would be better. I think
I
more
think
people are likely to attend.
Yeah, the thing is to keep the interest going by
Momentum. We thought we might lose the momentum if we make it once in 2 months. Is that your thought, Karunya?
No.
While we are on it,
I don't want.
Can I tell you about that? Because I think it is once in 2 already. Once a month is becoming once in 2 months. It will definitely be lost. And
okay,
we'll keep it. We are concerned about numbers. It is not the numbers. It's that there is a platform that's going on every month.
I'm worried about content. We do not have to have some people speaking interesting stuff.
Yeah.
If you have a chat group, that's different.
It is a chat group, but then the as and when available, we'll bring subjects. So at least we meet for 10-15 minutes or half an hour, 1 hour, go up. It's okay. We don't need to record that.
What do you say?
I think I agree with Maharuf on one point. If you keep it in once in 2 months, if for some reason, usually some reason would crop up, and if some person misses it, then the person will be joining in only once in 4 months. Therefore, that thing comes. So I think it is not a number, as I agree with Maharuf, but we must have people we must pull in people to come and talk to us. And that I think is very important.
I think also that once a month and whoever joins will join. There's no guarantee that once in 2 months is going to pull in people. It's mainly a matter of motivation and interest. It's not so much a timing issue or anything, I believe. And also people's, time constraints or whatever. So, whatever numbers, you just keep it going and for as long as you can or wish to, and see how it goes, maybe.
Sure. Fair enough.
I'm going to go to Sri Lanka in February. I just spoke to one Dr. Judy J. Kumar because of the he's just launching a new book about adolescent mental health, and also we're going to do some work on the drug addiction. So when I come back in March, I'll be able to give a talk on the position and what work we did in Sri Lanka in March.
Great.
So I'll just leave it at that. Then I'll remember that, Karunian.
Okay, all right. So end of March. So we'll keep it for the moment.
Yeah.
We'll meet next January, and then we'll evaluate it as we go. But help me with some ideas. Saru, can you find some interesting subjects to discuss? Even today was a very interesting subject with the lifestyle medicine and the progress. So let's define what we want to do. It's not only medical knowledge, but even evolution of society, changes of society, and so on and so forth. And let's try and do that. But we'll work on that on a monthly basis and see. Okay, Shanti, March you are going to be there. I'm going to be in Sri Lanka in March. Sam, will you be there in March?
I'll be here till May. Give me a Maruf, you have my number. Can you give it to? I'll send it to you, Karunian. I'll send email my number to you.
I'm going for the 200th anniversary of our old school.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's very,
When is that, Karunian?
Huh?
When is that? St. John's?
Well, there is two things happening in March. They put up a new building, one of the old buildings that was damaged during the war. They collected money and they put a new block. They have replaced that. The old Williams Hall was built in 1835. 1851 originally, and then rebuilt and then destroyed during the war. And it was there. It was the main hall where we used to assemble when I was a student. They rebuilt it. So they, along with that, that's in March. They're having the cricket game, Central St. John's game, and a lot of the old boys are coming to they're going to have dinners and I don't know what else, opening and services and so on. So that's going to be a week-long thing with 3 days of cricket and all that. So I'm going for that. And then there is another one in June where there's a Founders Day every year they have. So it's 200 years old, the school.
Yeah, you are the first medical school in Jaffna, isn't it?
Yeah, that
you
said 1851. Bobby's great-grandfather was one of the first students. Yeah, seriously.
Can you send me the details, Karunian? I think I would love to attend one of those.
I'll send you the details, Come and
okay.
Maruf is also St. John's. He entered from St. John's. So
Arul, can I suggest something else, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to the medical side of things, would it be useful and interesting to look into what has happened to Sri Lanka in the last few years, and to see what can be done to catch the political crooks? Only whether there's a chance that the people who organize this type of thing might be arrested and put in jail.
You have to be alive, Mohan.
Narada is going back. I don't know. Whether Narada is going to
be a good man.
No, we can talk societal and political and other issues. I have no objection to it. I personally have a lot of opinions on that, but whether we want to do that, I don't know.
Remember, Karunian, you said you will talk about the first the history of how the Green Memorial, the medical college started and the part of it. Remember earlier about the books?
Sure. I've done some reading on that. We can make a presentation on the early. Bobby, tell me about Bobby's grandfather was one of the first students, right? Or great-grandfather?
What is his name? Green's medical school.
Yeah. See, Samuel Green. Yeah.
Samuel Green,
Now see, they are arresting this chap from Uganda who was in England a few days ago, and he's been charged for corruption and things like that. And why that sort of thing can't be done about the politicians in Sri Lanka, I don't know. There must be a way of doing something, but apparently all the money is hidden in Uganda and some other places. So,
see, Mohan, we can talk about it. We'll all have different perspectives. I have a totally different perspective on many other things. I don't blame Rajapaksa.